Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Jolt with me, Johnny Cleveland. Welcome aboard. It's Monday, July 13th, 2026. Happy summer. I'm 4 weeks into my summer break, and we have 6 weeks off. I know some of you don't like to hear that teachers have all those weeks off for their break, but anyway, I'm immersed in that, and it's going very fast. Hope you're all had a good, wonderful past weekend. I did not have shows this last week on my end. I know the Fanatical Elves. We had Steve Gill with his Dog Pound South show yesterday. Catch that, please. And Rod Bloom had their Brown Blitz with him and his brother Jeff. Special guest. Check that out. Got something in my mouth there. So welcome aboard again. We're here live on Facebook, YouTube, the X. You can also listen to us later on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of those platforms. We are there. Type in Fanatical Elves Network or type in Cleveland Browns podcast, and you're bound to find us quickly. We've been doing this. We're going into year four, or season four of the Browns season. We primarily cover Cleveland Browns material, but we also cover all sorts of things related to Cleveland and sports worldwide. We are looking for a new talent out there. I know that many of you have started up podcasts, or maybe you're considering starting up a podcast. We would love to have you reach out to us here at the Fanatical Elves Network, direct message us, and we'll be in touch. As the Browns, the season is just upon us. Just a few weeks left before we start training camp. So this would be a great time if you have any interest in doing some podcasting. Also, shout out to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. They shake the hand of the farmer. This is the Coffee Jolt, so I'm going to be sipping my Hemisphere coffee. They are a group up there in Mechanicsburg, Ohio. Let me take a sip of this wonderful coffee. And also, shout out to Sherry's Licorice. They're a licorice company there in Goshen, Ohio, down there near Cincinnati. We're working with them on a sponsorship down the line here. So check out their website. Go to Sherry's Licorice. You can Google it. It'll pop right up. My wife and I started ordering this licorice online a couple months ago, and my God, it's several steps up from your basic Twizzler that you would find at the gas station. So check them out. Wonderful small company, and we love that here at the Fanatical Elves. We don't win contests like some podcasts, but that's okay. We love the Browns. We love talking about the Browns. We're fans just like you, and I'm an annoying Browns fan, just like most of you out there too. And just enjoy the fact that you guys tune in sometimes, listen to us, give or take a few minutes here, a few minutes there. If you can handle an entire episode, good job. So, gosh, this is the dead period, the silly season for all sorts of things, especially with the Cleveland Browns. I was bringing up the headlines this morning. I also write for Dog Pound Daily. I also write for Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders with a bunch of great writers at both those periodicals. And this is a time when there's not a lot of like new material, and so you're looking at things like historically, and there are like the top headlines today. If you just do a Cleveland Browns search this morning, there's an article about well, the headlines deal with things like Cleveland Browns key free agent signing looks even better after one executive had this to say about them, or another article. Remember when Jim Brown gave the Cleveland Browns the middle finger? So that's, or we're looking at different positions on the team. For example, like the linebacker position for the Cleveland Browns, Carson Schwarzenegger. What a great season that he had. Now I listened to listened to the Dog Pound sorry, the Browns Blitz the other night with Jeff and Rod, and they were talking about Gerald McNeil Warren, the new safety from Toledo that they drafted. And there's some good hype about that. And I think the fact that someone like Carson Schwarzenegger had a good, solid season, rookie season, rookie of the year, obviously, the expectations, somehow, we look at that and we're like, well, this kid, this McNeil Warren, he's going to have a hell of a season too, potentially. I want I I'm not quite sure on that end. I'd like to be cautious a little bit more. He is a rookie. He looked spectacular in the MAC and playing well there. I think there is a little bit of a difference in as far as I know UCLA isn't a juggernaut right now in football, where Carson Schwarzenegger came from, but he did play probably against a little more talent across the board when he was in college, even though he was a walk on everything. I think Gerald McNeil Warren is going to be fantastic, but his talent and what he played against at in the MAC was not as superior. So I'd like to see how he kind of moves into that spot with the Browns back there with Grant Delpit. I think he's going to be fantastic, but I'll hold the phone. I won't say that he's going to be the defensive rookie of the year either at this point, but I'm excited to see what this young kid can do. I'm excited to see what all this young talent can do. If you look at the offense again, you've got, the Concepcion kid, you've got the Denzel Boston kid playing wide receiver. I think the Browns are in a really good spot. They've got a new coach, all of us know, with Todd Monken coming in. It's funny, you think about the combination here. You've got a 61-year-old timer coming in to coach the Browns who likes to swear a lot. So all Browns fans we're all in a tizzy because he talks like us, when we're at games, and somehow that's magically going to make this Browns team somehow better, even though Kevin Stefanski probably did the same thing, but it got kind of old with Kevin Stefanski. So a lot of these things that we talk about with Todd Monken and changing the atmosphere and blah blah blah. I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's a new coach, it's a new system. I mean, it's like anything, when we work somewhere, you get new people that work with you, or you work, bosses or whatnot. I mean, it does change the dynamics a little bit, and it's something new. So it's going to be fresh and exciting and everything else. We'll see what happens after week 1 and 2. Keep in mind the Browns are going on the road for the first 2 weeks of the season. They're down in Florida. They go play Jacksonville. Then they go play Tampa Bay and good old Baker Mayfield. I took a look. There was an article recently written in Bleacher Report about the Browns. Well, it wasn't about the Browns. It was actually about other teams that could turn the corner and could surprise people and make the playoffs. Well, the Browns were left off that list. Not a huge surprise, but some of the teams that were on that list was a team like the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans, which in my article on Dog Pound Daily, go check it out. I I questioned that, especially the Atlanta Falcons play. Uh, Kevin Stefanski, their basis for this is that Kevin Stefanski had a hell of a first season in Cleveland in 2020. He helped turn the Browns around, and they made that magical run to the playoffs. Great. I see it. I understand what they're saying, but I think you're giving Kevin Stefanski way too much credit. Atlanta has struggled. I think Atlanta, I didn't see them do a whole heck of a lot. They also talked about this quarterback competition with Tua Tagovailoa coming over from Miami and competing against Penix, talking about this quarterback competition and how Kevin Stefanski is going to work that out. Did he work it out here in Cleveland? Not necessarily. So I have a hard time believing that Atlanta is going to turn around and be a playoff team. They also mentioned teams, like I said, the Tennessee Titans, which you could see some of those things with Cam Ward returning at quarterback, and then their new wide receiver from the Buckeyes coming on board. So Cleveland gets a chance to play these teams. They get to play Tennessee. They get to play Atlanta. And so when I went back, I went through the schedule, and hey, it's doable. It's the Browns. Realistically, if you look at that schedule, and I know some people have debated this schedule, it's the easiest schedule according to some, based on just records from previous season. They realistically could get, I think they could realistically get that 8 to 9 win range. If somehow they get fortunate and luck is on their side and they're better than we think, then maybe a 10-win season is not out of order. we've debated this before seasons start all the time. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Coming off the playoff window when Joe Flacco back in 2023, we all thought the Browns were going to win 12, 13 games. That didn't happen in the following in 2024. So, boy, this is some amazing coffee from Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. Shout out to them. Okay, so in this article, I basically give Cleveland an opportunity. I don't realistically think that they're going to be a playoff team, but I definitely don't think that a team like the Atlanta Falcons. What was the other team that they mentioned that I mentioned Tennessee. There was one other squad. Well, they mentioned like the New Orleans Saints, which the Saints have quietly kind of gotten better. I don't like their quarterback situation either. So the Browns have an opportunity. Obviously, this time of the year, we're all optimistic. It's before training camp. Everything looks and sounds good. The other thing that constantly is being talked about right now with the Brownies has to do with, the quarterback situation. Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders. There's been a lot of debate continuing between these two guys and who's going to start. Obviously, I've mentioned this a thousand times. I don't think Deshaun Watson, coming off a major injury that he's had and all the things that has been going on over the last several seasons, he's not he shouldn't be close to being the week one starter. I know they're talking about it. He's the guy who's been he's got the most experience, but keep in mind the kid's only played 19 games I think in his career. The big talk this week was about the insurance that's tied to his game. I think Steve Gill had a good explanation of that on his Dog Pound South show that he did yesterday. So tune into that, watch that, or listen to it. He discussed this insurance thing, and I know Mike Florio came out last week discussing it initially, and he put this number, just ginormous number that wasn't accurate, out. And then he came back and he corrected it. But there is some insurance tied to Watson's contract. I think Steve Gill said something about he has to miss at least 6 games during the season uh, to get some of that to kick in. But anywho, that has something to do. That'll have something to do with maybe going forward into the season. I just think that Shador is the guy. I think 90% of us, the majority of us Browns fans, know that Shador should be the guy going forward. Now, if it doesn't work out with Shador, you got to at least find out, right? That's the idea here. That we got to know. We already know what we got in Dylan Gabriel. I know some people are still trying to give this kid credit. He's no more than a good backup. I don't even know if he's a good backup. He's a lefty. I'd love to see him go to Atlanta, go play for Kevin, because I know Stefanski loved Dylan Gabriel. So it's Shador's team, really, this year. This year, I think personally that Shador can really take it to the next level. I think that Shador is going to continue gaining momentum. He's going to have a good this next season. I think if he doesn't start all the games, maybe there's a little bit of this or that with Deshaun in there. I don't know. Please, for God's sakes, don't let him start the season. I mean, the Browns should understand that the fan base is going to completely come unglued if they know going into week one that Deshaun is the starter. I mean, the first time that Deshaun throws an interception or the first time he throws an incomplete pass down at the stadium, the fans are going to come unglued. And do the Browns really want to start the whole 2026 season off that way? I would hope that they have that in the back of their minds and understand that that is a significant thing. I don't know how you can go into a season with that sort of idea and understanding that this kid's going to be under enormous pressure when he screws up the first time. Shador, I think fans are willing to give him time and room to grow still. I mean, we threw him into the fire last year, and it was uh, good and bad. And those of you who continue to want to say, well, Shador only threw seven touchdowns to 10 interceptions, and he's no better than Dorian Thompson Robinson or something stupid like that. You're absolutely a fool if you are looking at football. You can just your eye test, go watch the games and see what Shador could do when, in some big moments. he can excel, and he's only going to get better with a full training camp. All the training he's had over this offseason, the first team reps that he's been getting with the team are all going to help immensely. Hey, let's pause here for a quick commercial break. This is Coffee Jolt. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks for coming back to Coffee Jolt here with Johnny Cleveland. We're here on the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Fans First Sports Network. We appreciate you tuning in, listening to us, following us. Hit that subscribe button on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can listen to us exclusively all the time and listen to our takes on the Browns, on Cleveland sports, all of that. So the big news here in Cleveland, of course, is LeBron. And I went back and I listened to an old show, not that old, but like July 1st, I did a Coffee Jolt, and we were talking then about LeBron. So basically, over the last 2.5 weeks, I at this point, I consider what LeBron's doing keeping everybody hostage. And that initial euphoria, or that initial sort of hot take in him sort of being back here in Ohio and Akron, and he's 41 years old, he's looking at retiring. His son Bronny could be potentially coming along to play with him wherever he ends up going next. There was all of this sort of feeling prior to the 4th of July that LeBron was ready to come back to Cleveland. He was going to end his career here where it all began, and we would be following it with a movie screen, movie set, and people, documenting it and all of that. It got very exciting, right? Even if you're not a huge LeBron fan, and even though LeBron came back once, came back twice, some of you said, no, I don't want any more LeBron. The fact is that he was kind of projecting that he was going to make his return. Well, that was over 2.5 weeks ago. And now it's just become a point where, yeah, I'm checking social media like all of you, probably every couple minutes to see if there's any updates. This is beyond the time that he's posted when he's come back to other teams. I think the last big decision when he came back to Cleveland was July 11th of 2014. So for me as a fan, personally, it's annoying at this point. I listened to the guys in 92.3, Ken Carmen and Anthony Lima, who I don't care much for his opinions most of the time, but he even mentioned, like, he has friends. Anthony Lima mentioned that he had some friends who contacted the Cavaliers about season tickets in anticipation maybe that LeBron was coming back. And according to him, the people in the Cavaliers organization told him to hold the phone. Now, yesterday, Kenny Atkinson, I think, was on some show, the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, talking us optimistically about being in the running for getting LeBron. And so people have been looking at that information and trying to decide, is that a positive or is it a negative? Why would he be talking positively about LeBron? Does he know more than we are know? And why would he be talking about that so positively? Maybe he knows that LeBron is planning coming back, and they're just trying to dot their I's and cross their T's. I mean, it's it's an interesting time right now. I'm annoyed at this point because I do. I mean, if if LeBron, he I don't know what he's waiting for. And I mean, granted, look, the guy's been around the league forever. I know we want to grant some of the greatest players their time, their opportunity, and all of this, but it has become annoying because he has set it in motion, right? He has gotten on social media platforms, and he is the one who's documenting and showing him being back in Akron, hanging out with his buddies on trips from the old 2016 team. So he's doing that, and this is what LeBron does. And then the question is, how different is LeBron from someone like a Miles Garrett? And I'm not trying to compare it completely the two, but when we talk about the Browns and Miles Garrett, and now he's in Los Angeles, kind of like LeBron went to Los Angeles. Miles is one of the greatest football players of all time. Was Miles loved by his teammates here in Cleveland? I don't think so. I don't think a lot of people came to his birthday party. Now, LeBron, there's so much information out there over the last 25. He's supposed to be clean cut and all this, but you get a lot of different stories about the guy. Obviously we love him in Cleveland because he helped bring a championship. Kyrie Irving has been discussed coming to Cleveland. Is that part of the package that's included with LeBron, or is Kyrie coming on his own potentially? Wouldn't that be interesting? No one's really talking about Kyrie Irving coming back to Cleveland potentially, but it caught my attention. Even if LeBron doesn't come back, having somebody like Kyrie, I mean, I don't know how that would work with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. Obviously, some sort of trade would have to happen. Then you think about the other parts of this whole shenanigans with LeBron. I mean, is Jarrett Allen part of that trade possibility? Because he seems to be the name with his contract that keeps coming up. Dean Wade has already left. He went to Philly. I know a lot of you know that I have ties to Dean, and I was being told that maybe Dean would go wherever Jarrett Allen would go. Well, does Jarrett Allen? I don't think he goes to Philly, obviously because of Joel Embiid and all this. But so we'll see. I'm at the point of being annoyed, and LeBron could let us all know, and that would be great. Now, part of this also that annoys me is a player like Draymond Green, former Golden State uh, Warrior. I guess that's the other thing about this whole thing. If LeBron ends up going to Golden State, I'm really going to have a hard time with that. And I think a lot of you Cavs fans are going to have a hard time with that. I mean, I know that this isn't the same team that it was, or that Golden State exactly was, 10 years ago. But, Cleveland played Golden State, what, three times for the NBA championship? Three times, right? Maybe it was the fourth times. Um, that that really would bother me if LeBron, the team that he beat, that he was down 3-1 against, he went to Golden State to play with Steph Curry, who I don't like Steph Curry. If you don't know me, if you haven't listened to my podcast, I don't care for Steph Curry at all. So, and then you add in this Draymond Green crap. Draymond Green is an ass. We all know that he's an ass. We all know that he is a complete buffoon, jerk, moron, not a very nice guy. And if the fact that LeBron is tied to this guy and is hanging out with this guy doesn't sit well, especially with a lot of us Cavs fans who have followed these guys' careers. Draymond did a lot of dirty. He's a dirty player, and he was a dirty player when the Cavs played him back in 2016, and they won that championship. So I have a hard time seeing Draymond Green in a Cavs uniform. I'll root for the Cavs, but I'm not going to be a fan of that guy. Kenny Atkinson, like I told you, he mentioned this stuff about being tied to the whole LeBron stuff, and he seemed genuinely excited. Some people are trying to interpret his body language and how he was saying this or that about LeBron. Let me take another sip of my coffee here. So we will sit here and wait. I'll do a run of my, since we're all on air live here, and you're waiting patiently for LeBron's decision. See if anything happens here. Nope. That's the other thing with this Rich Paul, who is LeBron's agent. I just something popped up here on that, and um, they're just holding things up, and it's entertainment. I get it, and it's big business. I get it. Speaking of big business, as I changed direction here, there was a recent interview. I think it was recent. Odell Beckham Jr. or maybe it just resurfaced again, but he was complaining about his $100 million contract only getting him back 60 million after taxes, and how that's difficult to live on for the rest of your life and whatnot, and how these players weren't taught or given lessons on how to take care or manage their money. And I'm like, whose fault is that? I mean, I don't know. When you complain about that, you can go out and learn and practice how to take care of your money, especially if you're a professional athlete. I think that's something that you should, I would think that you should be doing when you're immersed in that professional um, part of your life. The fact that he's saying that it breaks down, he broke down all this money and then said that really comes to be about only like spending $8 million then a year, and after you pay for all these things, and so he was basically complaining about $4 to $8 million and not being enough to survive on. I'm an educator, and I haven't made a great deal of money, and many of you have worked your jobs and probably, you make money. And but if you break it down, and I broke it down just for mathematical purposes, let's say I average $75,000 a year over my career, 40 years. Now, I didn't make $75,000 a year when I started as a teacher back in 1992. My salary then was $16,000, jumped to $23,000 my second year in 1993, and I thought I was a rich man. So let's say I averaged $75,000 over a career. That's only $3 million over a 40-year career. 3 million over 40 years. So when I hear any professional athlete complaining about money, I don't have a lot of sympathy for you. Go get those practice classes, learn how to manage your money, and don't get on air and talk about how you can't survive on $100 million salary, even though you just had a 10-year career. You can certainly manage if you know how to manage money. That's a wealth, a great wealth. So there's your financial lesson of the day. Okay, folks. Well, I appreciate you tuning in here to Coffee Jolt on this Monday, July 13th. We will be coming on with more shows later this week. Rod Bloom will have his Brown Splits. I'll have my Johnny Cleveland podcast later this week as well. And we'll be coming to you with another Coffee Jolt and a new Fanatical Elf show coming likely Thursday evening. And until then, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday, wherever you are. I hope the sun is out and it's shining. Go Browns, go Cleveland, and remember too, that's right, keep smiling. See ya.